Is this cultural appropriation or is it cultural appreciation? And how do we feel when brands take our culture and profit off of them?
Black entrepreneurs can't just sell a great product. They're also tasked with the huge challenge of changing minds, changing mindsets, shifting culture.
If you're happy about getting an invite to sit at the table, then you're willing to accept the crumbs that they give you. I'm trying to build us a table.
Air them out. Who said that? Who said that? Air them out. Drop the names, Lanny.
I think if you really give a about starving children, then you cut the funding off. That is the only way to stop it.
We're funding, aiding, abetting, and providing cover to this heartless, no doubt about it, genocide.
What I found particularly around the news is Black people liked, the Black viewers, a good portion, liked their news and information validated by white folks.
People cozied up to massa because if they did, maybe that meant their lives would be saved, literally saved.
I'm not anti-anybody. I'm just for us more.
Black lawyers, Black doctors, Black professionals and specialists, period.
It is my favorite thing about this group. Welcome home, y'all. We off this cliff over here.
Native Land Pod is a production of iHeartRadio in partnership with Reason Choice Media.
Welcome.
Welcome home, everybody. It's episode 90 of Native Land Pod. I'm Tiffany Cross here with Angela Ryan, Andrew Gillum, and this is your home where we give it to you straight, no chaser, all things politics and culture. And before we even get into the show, I just want to ask you all, if you like what you hear today, please tell a friend, subscribe, like, do all the things. Because the more we hear from you, the more we can broadcast, the more we can incorporate you into the show. And so we love making this an interactive conversation with our viewers and audience. So, Andrew, Angela.
Yes.
Welcome home, y'all. What's going on?
What's up? I'm going to Do Not Disturb real quick.
Thank you.
Please. Thank you.
Well, I need your phone ringing.
Speaking of
What?
D&D, there was someone who
What's up?
celebrated a birthday over the weekend. Our very own co-host, Andrew Gillum, was Cowboy Cartering it up, and he was on D&D. He didn't respond to nary a birthday message until he was through the weekend. Andrew, talk about it.
It's true. First of all, thanks everybody for the love, Tiffany, Angela, the crew. I appreciate it. I generally disappear during my birthday. I don't have cell phones. It causes me to be in maintenance to them rather than enjoying the wherever I am. And this time I was with the fam, and my mother-in-law and my mother-in-law was here. Made some delicious food, got a little massage, and, it was good. It was good. Thank y'all, though. I am realizing I'm closer to 50 than I am to 40.
Can we spend a minute on that? Because that's such a mind way,
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, because 45 is your last big birthday. I'm 46, and when you start to look at the next birthday, it's and you start saying things like, "Oh, girl, please, I'm pushing 50," or "I'm looking at 50," and you're not quite there yet. But just that you have lived more of your life.
Yeah.
You're on the other side. You're middle-aged.
You're middle-aged, Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
We're almost half a century old.
Yeah, really.
They say it gets better, Tiffany.
I believe it does.
Life
Our
gets
friend,
better. I'm claiming it.
Bevy Smith always says it gets greater later. And I think that's true for the most part. I think you settle into yourself. I don't know what it is for men, Andrew. So I'd love for you to speak to that. As women, I think it's something different.
I am hoping, and I'm already feeling this way now, and it didn't take a birthday to get here, is the need for validation outside myself is almost non-existent.
That's a great place to be.
And now I can't. And now, of course, it exists in some ways, and I find it showing up at really, probably unexpected but really rare moments. And I appreciate when I can call it to my attention. But mostly, it's okay, you live how you live. Mm-hmm. I'm a lot less concerned with what folks got going on as it relates to gossip and what people say and that the street. I miss me all the way with every piece of that because it ain't my business.
Yeah.
And I'm also more comfortable that the people who I love and I care for know it. And they are a lot more accepting of the way in which I am and how I show up. And I think the same is true in reverse. Mm-hmm. Angela, what about you? I know you're not,
I'm old.
Pushing I'm pushing.
No, I am. I'm you're only a few months older than me. I'm pushing 46 in October. It's all good. I feel like Black don't crack. And speaking of, I'm at the National Bar Association convention right now.
Shout out to the National Bar, Black
celebrating
lawyers.
100 years. So shout out to everybody that's making sure that we are upholding what the law should be and not what the law just is because this maniac over there is doing something crazy.
Speaking of, we're tossing it back to you, Tiff.
I was just about to say, we got to talk about what we talking about.
My birthday.
Yes, your birthday was first on the list.
I'm joking.
It was.
But also, what else we talking about, Angela?
So we are in the midst of a little bit of a culture war online. There is some stuff going down with Ralph Lauren, in the midst of all the things that brands are doing to dial back on their commitments to us. What they haven't dialed back on is taken from the culture. So the culture vulture conversation today will be really powerful, especially because the founder of Actively Black, Lanny Smith, will be joining us, and I cannot wait to hear what he has to say about this latest collection from Ralph Lauren. What y'all got?
I'm interested. First of all, did you coin that phrase, culture vulture?
Come on now, no.
I've never heard
I'm
that.
I'm not that kind of culture vulture to claim credit for that.
I mean, that's great. That's great. Good work, team. Gaza, want to just put a little bit of attention on the humanitarian crisis that's underway. It's been there. But we've never seen anything like this that's been so willful. And I think we should just talk a moment about it and continue to put as much attention on this issue as possible.
Yeah, I echo that. I always like to have an interactive conversations with our viewers. And so I yield my time most weeks to hear what our viewers have to say. So I'm always excited to talk about that. But, something that we didn't plan on talking about was this whole middle age conversation. I actually enjoyed hearing y'all's perspective on being middle aged and how to navigate that. Do we want to spend time on that, or do we want to
talk about that more at some point? I don't know if it's today, but I wanted to actually dig into your trepidations. And if we all had them at some point, maybe we could just talk about what our trepidations might be. Nervousness, as we reflect back and look forward. But maybe not today, in the future.
Since we're not talking about it today, we should invite our viewers into that conversation. Yeah. And I would love to hear from folks who are middle-aged or on the other side. Young folks, we want y'all to listen, but this might not be a conversation for you to contribute to, but listen. So I would say if you're on the other side of 45, however old that is, like Gammy, I love Gammy. I know I love Gammy, Jada's mom. But she lives such a great life and looks amazing. So if you're on the other side of 45, you could be 55, 65. We would love to hear from you about what we have to look forward to, any advice you've navigated in your life, especially women, like what our bodies are going through and frozen shoulder and being hot all the time and perimenopause and menopause and all the things. So yeah, we should get those. If you all send in your clips, your comments, your questions, your testimonies, we can definitely have that conversation.
Yeah, I love that invitation, Tiffany.
What's up, Native Land Pod? Andrew, Angela, and Miss Cross. Nah, I'm joking. That dude, he was on one. I have a quick question though. Social media. If you guys have, then I don't know. I just haven't seen it. But why don't you guys talk about Fanbase or on Fanbase? Maybe y'all are. I haven't seen it. I haven't really looked for you, but I'm just curious. Because Isaac Hayes is right now, he's allowing black people, well not just black people, but people to have equity into Fanbase, and they're private right now. And if just imagine if we were able to have equity into TikTok or Instagram or something like that before it went public, that would have changed so many people's lives. But I'm just curious because obviously if you own social media, you can't be kicked off for certain things and all of that nonsense. Plus it's just a space for us to go and talk about stuff that we want to talk about and again have ownership. So why don't you guys kind of not really promote, but be on social on Fanbase like Instagram and TikTok and stuff. I'm just curious. I mean, I know it's not as big as the other ones yet, but I was just wondering because it's black owned and black run, all of that stuff. So I was just curious. So
I love that question.
I do too.
We had a question from this gentleman before. I believe he lives outside the country. I think he like has a store in Africa. I remember Roland, and it's West Africa, I believe. I can't remember the country. So thank you for sending in another question. It's great to see you again. Yeah. Welcome home to him. I find the question really interesting. To be honest with you, I am not 100% familiar with the functions of Fanbase. Obviously, I know about it. We know Isaac Hayes the third. It's his business. And Angela, correct me if I'm wrong. You may not even know, actually. But I feel like Roland Martin, is he a funder? Is he on the board? Like, what is his role? I know he has something to do with it.
I know that he's invested in it, but I don't know if he's on the board. Okay. I will also confess to not knowing enough about this, and probably at the risk of confessing too much, didn't really care for Isaac Hayes. During Stacey's election, he was supporting the white woman also named Stacey. I was very irritated about that. But,
why?
Nope. But, I think for me, where I'm at now, and you all should hold me to this, I'm as a sibling, please hold me to this. We are in crisis, so none of that shit matters. So I'm committed to right now. I see, I pulled it up, Tiff, to your point. Get your fan base equity now, invest today, minimum of $3.99. I'm committing to do that today, to just show how much the stuff that I was caring about and was holding grudges about really doesn't matter. Oh, and I also ask our social team to start us an account. Sorry.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. I just, this is a quick parentheses, just to say that Angela has been on one when it comes to that, like just driving the point home. Like, I was mad about this, but it don't matter. We in crisis, and like really forcing us to let some shit go and come together around things. So I appreciate that perspective. Here. I will commit. I don't know exactly what Angela did, but whatever she did, I will commit to doing that too. For
I love that we will lead each other blindly. It is my favorite thing about this group. Welcome home, y'all. Bitch, we off this cliff over here. We together.
Listen, to learning what it is, I was like, oh, is this about our fan base? And you were like, Tiffany was like, I wish you would have saved that for or somebody said, I wish you would have saved that for Lolo. Thank you, Lolo.
I'm not terribly on social media a lot these days, to be honest.
I'm going to start Tiffany and Andrew's account and have somebody manage them just so nobody takes their names.
I need to learn. I'm just going to commit to learning right now.
Yeah. But I will start an account on Fanbase.
Okay, sure. So Tiff said, "Don't do that." She got that. Okay, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna figure it out right now.
Oh no! If somebody gonna start an account for me, then go for it.
She got it.
Or I can do it, because if y'all wait for me, it might be forever.
Okay, I'm gonna do it then.
I've never met Isaac Hayes, but I know Ro has been promoting. I do like the idea of like crowdfunding, and there is something to be said about our challenges at times with supporting our own brands, our own business. And it's not just even around brands. I remember for years I ran the bureau at BET, and their DC bureau. And what I discovered, because at the time that BET was a thing that people were like, tuning into, and it wasn't competing with streaming, it was something that people really depended on. We had to be all things to Black people. We had to be serious and news. We had to be funny and entertaining. We had to be movies and events, and, the BET Awards had to encompass it all. What I found particularly around the news is Black people liked, the Black viewers, a good portion, liked their news and information validated by white folks. It was fine. We did some amazing coverage at BET, but they would have tuned in if it was on CNN. They didn't tune in on BET. On the flip side, Black folks were watching. That also needs
to be a mini pod. That is good, Tiff. That needs to be a whole mini pod. Oh my God.
Let's thumbtack. Whoever keeping track of the 18 mini pods
that
we have going. Lolo. Can you please keep a track of that? Right. But also, I was at BT at the time when the Real Housewives franchise launched. And I thought if BET had ever dared launch something like this, the Black community would have been outraged, but they will tune into it on Bravo. So there's something about that psychology of how we treat Black-owned brands, which kind of gets into a conversation we're having later. We talked about, Angela brought up that she wanted to talk about the Ralph Lauren issue, and Lanny Smith is going to be joining us. So don't go anywhere. Keep in tune. We have a few more topics to get to, but just make sure you stick around for that interview because we're going to deep dive into that topic. Andrew, what do you? I love it. Andrew,
Good
what
job.
do you? Are you?
Accountability.
Because I feel like you and you have a very philosophical point of view around things at times, and I just wonder what you make of the whole concept of buying black, supporting that.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to double stamp your point around this. It's not a cultural phenomenon. It is one of the longest living vestiges of white supremacy, slavery, racism. And that is that this idea creeps in constantly that white is right. Mm-hmm. And this idea of validation. When Obama took off, right, there was a lot of hesitancy in the black community until we saw that white folks were willing to get behind him in Iowa, right? And he was commanding there and then ran away with us when it came to it. But up to that point, including a number of our leaders who we can all name, were not on that train at the time. And I think that was probably a mix of both. White is right, and also, is this a suicide mission or is there really a path forward? So this whole believability, can we do it thing? I think it was probably a mix of the two of those. I don't want to invalidate that. Carter G. Woodson writes in The Miseducation of the Negro, and I won't get the quote completely right, but he basically says if the man tells you to go to the back door and you reach the back and there is no door, you will carve one out for this special purpose because your education makes it necessary. And he's talking about the miseducated Negro, right? And he says, you don't even have to send us to the back. We will go without being told, because our education makes it necessary. And I think that's the kind of thing that we've got to vociferously and aggressively disrupt in our community, which is we don't have to have the validation, nor is it necessary to have the validation outside of ourselves. We got fact checkers over here. We got griots over here, people who know history. We got folks who understand the ins and outs of politics better than the household names that you associate with knowing the ins and outs of politics, because we've been there and we've done it. And so far as I can tell, we're about the only race of people who have had to consider what white people and what the majority community will do in an election cycle as a way of determining how we might act or counteract what they may do. So this idea of having to have almost, clairvoyance, if not clairvoyance, at least having a real strong feeling about something, because as we know in our community, one false move can get you clipped. So we don't have the luxury of moving with such ease. So I say that all to say we should trust ourselves, trust our community, trust that we have everything we need within ourselves to be as self-sufficient and as thriving as we need to be. But in this country, there's some layers we got to get over, and those are those structural layers that we've got to disrupt. And I think this podcast, in part, is in some way contributing to that disruption.
Yeah. I kind of remember this happening too with Tidal, when Jay-Z launched Tidal. But they had trouble. Like he was trying to, counter other brands like Apple. And people didn't really buy into it. And I always wondered, I wonder why.
It's too much. Is this? I'm like, it's less than all the other stuff you're comparing it to.
Can I tell you too? They also were paying the artists. Like, that's the part that I really didn't get either. It's like, if you're paying the artist for every stream, like, what is the actual issue? I still am a Tidal subscriber, even though they sold half the shares.
Well, I think it goes back to the psychology of it. And I think sometimes we can have harsher judgment on Black businesses. We can either have, incredibly high standards for Black things or incredibly low standards. And so, I noticed some of that. Atlanta, you guys don't watch Atlanta, but it's such a great episode. But they did an episode around that, but also Insecure, Issa Rae show, when Molly went to work at a Black law firm. She left a white law firm and went to a Black law firm, and like she kept making these little comments about the black law firm. Like, I know these meetings ain't about to start on time. We so black up in here, we can't even start the meeting on time. And she got checked a little bit by
by professionals, right?
Yes. Yeah. Like, who you think you are? You think you greater because, and we dealt with that at BET as well. Like, people would come, I came to BET from CNN, people would come from elsewhere, and, you know, people would talk like, well, this is how it works in the newsroom. And it's like, bitch, you ain't got to tell me how it works in the newsroom. Like, I know how it works in the newsroom.
Yeah.
So,
and
I'll
tell you, and similar to that, Tiffany, in politics, it would be, I'd be with colleagues, and the questioners from the audience would ask me sort of heart and soul and feeling questions, and would ask my colleagues technical questions. What's the level, depth, da-da-da-da-da. So I almost made it my pattern of behavior to lead with what the technical side of things are before I would ever get to heart and mind. And spirit, because they didn't think I, for whatever reason, didn't trust either what I had to say on those things, or didn't think I had anything at all to say on those matters, but thought I was a good persuasive speaker, and so they throw me those kinds of things and not the sort of brass tacks of a matter.
Yeah.
Can I have? I have a technical matter. You guys have to check
production pause.
No. It's a technical matter that can still go on the show. You can leave all this in there. I've set up your accounts. You need to verify them by checking your emails. And
we are
then you will be
multitasking
set up.
Today. I hear you. I hear you, Fran.
On it.
Thank you.
We're just being accountable.
I think in terms of Black businesses, this will be a good topic to pick up in a bit. Because I definitely have some questions for Lanny about his thoughts, and even this concept around the Ralph Lauren brand in terms of being like celebrating Black elitism. And because like we say that like it's a bad thing, like Black people they shouldn't have money. Like Black people shouldn't have nice, like why is that? When we say Black elitism, like what is it that we're attacking? What is our issue with that? Now, if we're talking about elitism as it relates to like white supremacy and classism and, a skin complexion and all that, then yes, like we have to erode those systems. But a part of me feels like when I look at like the flappers and like, Josephine Baker and like the glorified, beautiful people of the Harlem Renaissance, they call the founding of the NAACP elitism, and, the wars that kind of took place between Marcus Garvey and W.E.B. Du Bois. And I just think there's a conversation to be had around that too. Like, what are we calling Black elitism, and why are we mad about it? I don't know if it's like you shouldn't be aspirational to participate in the white man system of capitalism, which is fair. Then let's have that conversation. But sometimes I feel like we're saying because you don't know where people came from. You may have come from the gutter, but you have built up this thing, and now you're automatically considered Black elite, which means you are no longer a part of the community I recognize. You can't advocate for me. You don't understand, the struggle. And so there's a disconnect. And I don't want to demonize anybody who has that thought, but I find it curious. So anyway, we can get into that.
I don't know that people draw down all of those inferences from elitism. I think we can refer to the Black elite without attaching to it derogatory or sort of sentiment. I don't think the word elite in and of itself is a negative, is a pejorative. I think elite means set out and set apart. And I don't know what Webster's would say about that, but that's sort of how I view it. Now, if I were saying someone was acting stuck up, that would be something different than what I would associate with elite. I don't know if either of you all are watching The Gilded Age.
Don't say anything about it. I'm about to start.
All I'll say, so Felicia Rashad has entered this season.
I feel like you're about to ruin something.
Yeah, he definitely about to. Spoiler alert.
No, I'm not. All I'm going to say about it is with her entry into the show, this idea of the really dynamism that exists within the Black community, that we are not all one thing. You're going to see, if you watch that show, you'll see that beautifully, I think, demonstrated in this show. The fact that even post emancipation and not long after, you had Black folks who for generations already were in, parts of this country vacationing and owning second homes and spending seasons there. And we would never be associated with having had that in our lineage. But I think that show will help to put it on full display. And it was, honestly, I got to tell you, probably my first time ever seeing a period piece like The Gilded Age that did such a dynamic job with showing the range of blackness, even though the show seems to be centered around whiteness. If you had that impression, I would ask you to challenge it and take another look.
People love it. They've been talking about it a lot.
I think that the elite conversation is very nuanced. I think there are some people that see the word elite and feel excluded. I just talked earlier about being at the National Bar Convention, and my first National Bar Conventions I went to as a law school student. I'm the only lawyer in my family. My family's pretty well educated, mostly college educated, but we didn't own a lot. My grandmother, and this gets back to our conversation that we were having a couple of weeks ago, my grandparents worked really hard. Grandmother was in a union at Boeing. Grandfather was a Pullman porter. They worked very, very hard to buy the house they had. And then when my grandmother was older, she did a reverse mortgage. So that's a property in our family that we didn't keep. I had other members of my dad's family who owned their homes and sold them. My mom's siblings owned their homes and sold them. When I was a baby, my parents owned a home in a prestigious area in Seattle called Madison Park. My dad fell upon hard times and sold that. So we're not a family where there's generational wealth that has been passed down. When my mom's mom passed, she left some money, but it wasn't a lot. So coming to this conference, this convention when I was in law school, and I saw people who brought their children, and their children are raised together, judges' kids playing together. They have spouses events and things, you join in the links that I now have quit. But, they had link spouses, and you're an error link and all of these things. That is a part of Black elitism that is exclusionary. And I don't think it's by design. If they're trying to create spaces where they're saying this is okay. But for those of us who were not born into it, it feels very isolating. It feels very like, where do I belong? Where do I fit? And is there a space for me to on-ramp my family into this? And I don't want to do that at the exclusion of other Black folks. So I just wish that in those conversations, especially when you bring up WEB, where he talks about the talented 10th was a reality, but it's not the vision, right? And so I just would like for us to hold true multiple things. One is that we need to figure out a way to on-ramp more Black people into something they so desperately and righteously deserve, but also be aware of the fact that we do create these cliques, for lack of a better term, or silos, I'll say, that feel like there's everybody doesn't belong. So I just wish that we could knock out some of that.
You know what?
It's going to be controversial.
I was going to say, I have a disagreement too. But
yeah, okay. I was just talking about my experience.
No, it's not a disagreement. I think me and Andrew might be about to say the same thing. So you go for it, Andrew.
No, I'll just say my wife was of that, right? Her daddy was a university president in the Boule, her mother, a Link member, and she grew up in Jack and Jill and all those groups that I had no appreciation for whatsoever growing up, because I wasn't a part of any of that. And my family, my parents very specifically didn't come from that kind of upbringing, a good home, but certainly not that. You mentioned that those groups then themselves sort of become exclusionary. And yeah, there is some exclusion to the sense that there are certain qualifications that you have to meet in order to qualify for membership. It's similar to sororities and fraternities, right? You can't be a Delta or an AK or any of the Divine Nine if you hadn't gone to college. Otherwise, you'd have to be honorary. Yeah. Right. You'd have to be made an honorary member. So that even has criteria to it. But I actually think these organizations serve a really important and vital role at helping to keep those who have ascended into certain levels of wealth and entry into certain echelons of society, who felt, quite frankly, that they didn't look around and see their peers.
That's true.
They were surrounded by all white faces in places that they found themselves either having to assimilate to, sort of rich whiteness in order to be included, or you found yourself really shying away from it, separating yourself, which also has the effect of sort of stunting your further evolution in those spaces. And what I think some of these organizations do is they say, you're not by yourself, brother. You're not by yourself, sister. like together. We may not be in the same company. We may not own the same company. We may not be invested in the same places, but we understand almost without speaking what the culture is that all of us have to sort of deal with and encounter. The same thing, for instance, what do you call it? The Masons, the Masonic organization, which I have to tell you, I got to give a hat off to the Masons and the Masonic lodges in Florida, because I wasn't a member when I ran for governor. But when I was invited into their halls and to talk to their members, you hit every rung of society in those spaces. I have cousins who haven't dreamt of going to college, didn't go, don't want to go, but are so high up within those organizations. My grandfather was a member. My grandmother was an Eastern Star, and they were working people. And, my granddaddy cut yards, and my grandmother made house and raised, 18 head of children. Yes, by the same man, right? And they held those organizations, the Eastern Stars and and my grandfather's Masonic Association, like they were family. They were family, and they learned about organization and Robert's Rules of Order, and they ascended. And so I'll just say, yes, does it have its exclusion? Yes, but I think back to a time where we were in places where we just didn't have many comrades with us, and that the only place you could go to find it was probably church on Sunday. And short of that, there were no professional organizations and otherwise that bought you in and held you, and in your toughest of moments, steeled your body so you didn't feel like you had to quit. And I think those organizations kind of serve that really vital function.
Well, I might be controversial still. I thought we were going to say the same thing, but I appreciate both your points. I think, this isn't a conversation necessarily with disagreement, though I imagine our viewers might have some disagreement with us, and we welcome that, of course. So drop us a video. And again, if you like the conversation, please share it with a friend, because we'd love to make this more interactive. But I think, I grew up not elite at all. Whatever the opposite of elite is, like, that's how I grew up. No one in my family went to college, even like a few people dropped out of high school. I mean, it was just we didn't have money. A lot of my family was on public assistance. And so, but we were, it's not like we were out there panhandling. We just didn't come from a lot. When my life began to change, because I made it change, there were times where I didn't want to be around that. And I think this is kind of a part of the conversation we'll have today, because the Vineyard, for example, I have not enjoyed the Vineyard as much the past couple of years, because I think the crowd has changed. Now, the Vineyard was a Black beach where Black families could go and have safety, and it still exists like that. I think that's one of the beautiful things. Like, when you are a Black parent on the Vineyard and your 12-year-old comes over and says, "Mommy, I just met Johnny. I'm going to his house." Mamas and daddies like, "Okay, bye." Like, I don't have to meet them. I don't have to know them. It's impolite to lock your doors. Like, it's just a community. It's turned into like a Hollywood gathering now. And what I loved about it is you just go get out the beach. My hair would look like I licked my finger and stuck it in a socket. And I'm walking down the street and it's all good and it's great. And it was fine. Now, like, you see in weave and lashes on the Vineyard, you see in heels to the beach party. It's just a different environment, and it's not as down. People thought it was elite, but now it's more like aspirationally elite. Like, because you saw the Obamas went there, so now you want to go. But really, it was regular ass Black folks who could afford a second home or rented a second home for the summer. And it was just a great, safe time to relax into who you were. All you do is pork chop and sit on people's. And it's just changed so much. So there are spaces that I want to go that everybody's not invited. And I don't think that's a bad thing. There are places I can't go, that I'm not invited. There are rooms I can't get in. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think what's bad is when you're in these spaces and you're looking down on another space. When you feel like I'm in this space and I am better than. I am, subconsciously aspiring for white approval or whiteness. I want to live like white folks, when really we're in these spaces sometimes amongst ourselves having a good time. But it ain't no difference between me being here, at the Inkwell than it is between you at Edgewater Beach in Cleveland or on the beach in Alabama. Like, wherever you are my family and I am yours. So that's my thought on Black elitism.
That's fair.
I appreciate that.
That's fair.
The only other thing I'll say is, the conflict week in Martha's Vineyard. And I don't enjoy Martha's Vineyard at all. Not because I do enjoy it once I get there, but the process to get there is hell for me. It's just, and then the phone
reasons.
don't work, and then they ain't got no Uber Black cars, which I know sounds very elitist, but bear with me for 2 seconds. Like, I am over it. Your ashy ass Subaru situation. I don't want to do it. So, but what I do enjoy, because my expectations are completely managed. Bias alert, I'm on the CBC Institute board. Our Tunica policy conference is the same week where most of the stuff is popping off in Martha's Vineyard. That is like a big Black family reunion for me. That's where I'm going to be next week. And I cannot wait because it is no pretentious. The only thing I don't like is everything's fried. I'm surprised the lettuce ain't fried. But it is the time where like I know we can completely let our hair down and it is chill. So that's the Black elitism I like.
But you say Tunica's not elitist. And there are people who would show up in Tunica and feel like that's elitist. I used to do the Tunica conference for years. I enjoy it. But it just shows like then what's elite to you might not even be elite to somebody.
It's true.
Like Oprah looking at our broke asses on the Vineyard like, oh, I hope y'all enjoy that. We in Milan. We have the south of
island. In fact, we have space.
Exactly. Have you been in space? Exactly. So I could definitely see somebody going to Tunica feeling like this bougie. You know, when
I would love to meet. I want to meet them. I can't wait to meet them.
I got some people in my family who would feel out of place at Tunica. They would feel, because I mean, like to me, Tunica's so down.
Gin,
like
juice, and spades.
No doubt about it. But there's a price of entry.
Yes.
So that the reason why
that's fair.
Because certain people, you can feel like you can let your hair down, Congresswoman, in this space because you understand the price of admission. Mm-hmm. Now, if the price of admission was everybody and then some, those folks aren't coming anymore.
Right.
Because the space that they need in order to, lick everything off that chicken bone, the space that they need for that to happen has to be one of peers.
Remind me to send some videos of some Negroes licking everything off the chicken bone.
I'm telling you.
But they do that because it's a safe space. It's a closed. Like everybody is not invited. You have to be invited to the Tunica Institute. It's like there's a cost. Like you're a sponsor. There is something. There's a reason why you're there.
The locals is different. So that's what I'm saying.
I will also suggest that there are spaces that may not cost what it costs to be in Tunica or Hilton Head Island for the week. That's where, RJ's family would go, and the presidents of universities, Black HBCUs would vacation Hilton Head Island together, if not out of the country. But there are spaces that you and I might not, necessarily choose or want to be that, where I grew up, where you couldn't go into that particular establishment. You would not feel at home. You would not feel comfortable. They may not let you in, right? But one of my brothers could probably be at home if he's not checking folks at the door. And, or weekends, certain events that would be organized that way. So I guess what I'm saying, exclusion, I would like to look at it not just from top down, but from bottom up and center out and everything in between, because there are spaces and places, regardless of who we know, regardless of who we've brushed shoulders with, that we are not invited into, are not welcome into. And I'm not talking about space and owning an island in Hawaii. I'm talking, other parts of our society. And so are they exclusionary? Yeah, they are exclusionary. But these spaces are I believe that they are created largely for fellowship, but to serve a purpose, to create an at-home feeling or to create some atmosphere where the people who are in that room feel completely at home, feel completely at ease, and feel protected by those who are around them. My dad used to tell me growing up, and again, he was a construction worker, and my mother drove school buses. Son, never hang out with anybody who's got less to lose than you.
Those words live by.
Because his point was they don't calculate risk the same way you do. They don't see, the trouble the same way you might see it. And it'll drag everybody down. And so, and he wasn't talking about class and how much money you make. He simply meant if you didn't value what you did and bring to it the same ethic that I do and the same protection I do, then we're not gonna roll smooth together, because you're gonna put me in some situations, or I may put you in some situations that you otherwise would never have been in had you stayed at your speed.
Well, I wanted to get to Gaza, but we're going to save that because Lanny's going to join us. Yeah.
Yes.
But this has been a
Right
good
in time.
conversation. I think it'd be really interesting to hear from Lanny Smith, who is, of course, as Angela said, the founder of Actively Black, and he's going to share his thoughts on Ralph Lauren. And what we're talking about when we say Ralph Lauren is Ralph Lauren some months ago, or some years ago, actually launched a line with Morehouse Spelman emblems on them. So, again, at very elite HBCUs. And this year they have launched an Oak Bluffs line. Oak Bluffs is the blackest neighborhood of Martha's Vineyard, a historically black beach, like I said, where families would go and congregate and stay really for a sense of safety and belonging at a time where they were not welcome elsewhere. Their dollars were not welcome. Their bodies were not welcome. And so Ralph Lauren is obviously not a black-owned company, but in their effort to, quote unquote, be inclusive and DEI, they have launched this line, and they're beautiful black models modeling the clothes. But at issue, as a lot of you have raised, is this cultural appropriation or is it cultural appreciation? And how do we feel when brands take our culture and profit off of them? Even if, Angela made a point on our call earlier, but what if the creative director is black? What if, the VPs are black? How many black people work for this company? Or should we be supporting our own? And can both of these concepts exist in commerce and in the marketplace?
That's
so
titillating.
yes, I know. So with that, we welcome to join us now, Lanny Smith.
All right, good brother. So good to have you on. Thank you for all the history you're making with Actively Black, breaking the internet, and you have managed to do that again, getting Ralph Lauren together. So I want to hear from you, from your perspective. They do have this black creative director, Morehouse grad.
Yeah.
I always see you celebrating everything black, but I want to hear from you why this rubbed you particularly wrong, this line they're launching.
Yeah, to be honest with you, it wasn't that the line rubbed me wrong. And I've actually been surprised at the feedback, because I said very similar things all the time, and the last time that they dropped a line. My message was really to our people that I want us to value us. I want us to value Black owned in the way that we value everybody else's stuff. You know what I mean? Shout out to the Black creative director over there at Ralph Lauren. Like I said, I commended them. I think it's a beautiful collection. And very well done. But there's something to be said about how we view ourselves and how we treat our Black-owned brands. And to me, what I feel like is part of an inferiority complex, where we value European designer and white designer in a way that we don't value ourselves. And with what I'm building with Actively Black, the tagline is "There's greatness in our DNA." And that's very intentional, because I want our people to understand that the centuries and centuries of oppression have subconsciously seeped into some of our minds, where we actually believe some of the lies we've been told, that we're less than, that we're not as smart as. And so sometimes we look to these things of what we buy and what we wear to validate ourselves, as if, being invited to a seat at the table makes us feel better about ourselves. And I'm just trying to say, let's stop being so happy about being invited to a seat at the table, and let's build our own table. You know what I mean? Like, we are the source, we are the sauce, we are the seasoning that everybody else takes, repackages, and then sells back to us. And so it really was nothing against Ralph Lauren or Polo or what they're doing. I'm not anti anybody. I'm just for us more. So I wanted to make sure I clarified that, because I got a lot of people coming at me sideways, and I'm like, yo, I didn't say anything bad about them. I didn't say anything against them. What I did present were facts. And the facts were that Ralph Lauren said himself, this is a quote by him, this is on their website, that he was unaware of these issues facing Black America until the events of 2020. And he actually sat down in a company meeting with the
James Jeter.
James, post George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and he sat down in a team meeting about the racial awakening. And James showed him a yearbook of a Morehouse yearbook, and he was impressed with, the fashion that he saw there. And then he decided, hey, we need to revisit how we are expressing the American dream. My only thing with that is, bro, Ralph Lauren was started in 1966 or 67. Mm-hmm. How were you unaware of our contributions to fashion, to culture, to the world until 2020? So that makes me feel like there's a lack of authenticity behind the scenes of what's actually going on with this. When I look at the amount that they have committed to giving to HBCUs, it's $2 million to 12 different schools over 5 years. Do the math.
Yeah.
It comes out to $33,000 per school per year. Ralph Lauren does $7 billion in revenue every single year. What they giving back to these schools is really what y'all buying this apparel for. They're not actually sacrificing anything to give back to the community. That's all that I was saying. I don't have anything against the collection. It's beautifully done. I watched the video that accompanied it. I thought it was beautiful and how it told the story of, Martha's Vineyard and Oak Bluffs and the history of that. I think that's commendable. I just think our people need to understand who we are and why we should aspire to us. These aspirational brands that sell this lifestyle and this image that is not us. I think we get caught up in chasing that. And so I'm not anti Ralph Lauren. I'm not anti anybody else. I'm just pro us.
Well, speaking
What's the
of
most
FUBU,
cogent argument?
Well,
What's the most cogent argument you've heard? I'm sorry, you said FUBU. Go ahead.
Sorry, no, I was just saying, speaking of FUBU as a mentality, Lanny, and I'm sorry, Andrew, I'm going to let you jump in.
No,
but I
please,
just had a quick
ahead.
follow-up here. Because I think one of the things that's really important is a lot of brands get our culture enough to package and to sell to us. We always are talked about in the frame of our collective buying power. We're never talked about in terms of our ownership. And the one stat that does come up when we talk about the dollar recycling in the Black community is that maybe that happens one time over. So what I hear you saying is like, I'm trying to shift us out of the mentality of supporting a brand that throws a bone to us that really is about taking something back from our community, which is keeping us in the consumer mentality. Can you talk about how Actively Black is trying to shift out of that? Because you're building an ecosystem around Black owners beyond the Actively Black family.
1,000%. McKinsey released a report, I think it was last year, that showed that Black Americans spend $30 billion a year on apparel and shoes. So we know that the larger number of our collective buying power, but specifically on apparel and shoes, it's $30 billion a year. And they're projecting by 2030, that number is going to double. We don't have a single Black-owned apparel brand that's doing $1 billion. So if our people are spending $30 billion a year on apparel, and we don't have a single Black-owned apparel brand that is worth $1 billion, that's something wrong internally. That's something that we need to be facing and talking about ourselves.
Sure.
And so part of what we're doing Actively Black, we just launched 100% cotton line that all of the product is made from cotton grown by Black farmers. And I wanted to take this a step further with not just the end product, but a Black-owned supply chain, right? And so, I've got a couple of the pieces here, the hoodie, the back of it says, made from cotton, grown by Black farmers. You know what I mean? Like this, and so when you think about the history that our people have with cotton in this country, you have to understand that there were trillions of dollars in today's value that were generated off the backs of our labor for cotton during slavery, that we didn't get a chance to have any of the ownership of the value that we created. And so I look at this as, we ain't waiting on reparations. This is reclamation. You know what I mean? Like that's what this hoodie that's part of that collection, that's what it's symbolizing is, if we're spending $30 billion a year on apparel, imagine what 1% shifting 1% of that spend to a Black-owned supply chain does. Black farmers have lost 90% of their land since 1920. We used to own between 18 to 20 million acres of land. We only own 3 million acres of land today. And with some of the anti-DEI policies that this current administration is implementing, Black farmers are under attack again, where in the next 10 years, that might go down to zero. That's a real possibility. And so what I'm saying is, hey, if we already spending this money with everybody else and generating wealth for everybody else, why not turn that inward, generate that for us? And to your point, then that dollar stays within the Black community, because now there's a Black farmer that's getting paid for his cotton and his labor and the fabric that we're making the product out of. And then we're turning around and we're donating to HBCUs. We are funding programs that pay for mental health access for Black men. We donate to Black Mamas Matter, where we are fighting the abysmal maternal mortality rate, where Black women are dying at 3 times the rate of anybody else in this country. You know what I mean? So when you're buying actively Black, it's also going back to the Black community. When we're buying from everybody else, none of that money is coming back to us. And so that's what I'm trying to get our people to see and to understand.
That's real. I was initially going to ask you, Lanny, what is the most cogent argument you've heard opposite your view? And if there isn't one that carries water for you that you've heard, it's all nonsense. What are you hearing most consistently from people who are pushing back on your position?
I haven't heard one. I haven't heard one that makes sense, that covers all the bases that we're talking about, right? Okay. So if it's somebody who says something about, oh, well, they're donating back to the HBCUs, we just broke down what those numbers really are. So
pennies.
That doesn't, yeah. And I said this yesterday on my social media. I said, if you're happy about getting an invite to sit at the table, then you're willing to accept the crumbs that they give you. Right. I'm trying to build us a table that we own, where we can feast on what we have created, which is the most influential and valuable culture on the planet. You know what I mean? That everybody else sees our value, which is why they do what they do. When are we going to see our value? You know what I'm saying? And so, I've heard that, I've heard people even say, Ralph has always been an ally to us. So why are you saying, and I was like, where are you getting that from? Show me somewhere where that allyship has been manifested. Like I said, there's a lot of brands that came out with their performative declarations in 2020. And from my perspective, they're just shifting what they've always done with their marketing strategies, which is get a piece of the culture here, repackage it, sell it back to this culture, and continue to profit off of Black people. You know what I mean? And there hasn't been a counter argument that has actually made any sense to me, to be honest with you.
Well, can I offer one? It's not a counter argument, but I would ask you this, and I mean this sincerely, is can more than one thing be true at a time? Which is to say, can Black folks be really proud of there being a creative director, for instance, at Ralph Lauren Polo, or what Pharrell has done with Louis Vuitton? Oh, I'm sorry, I got that brand wrong. Is he with?
No, you're right.
Yeah, he's with Louis. That's right. Louis Vuitton. And Black people feel a sense of pride about the fact that we have been able to, if you will, infiltrate big white, largely white-led companies, organizations, and infuse it with our cultural experience, our heritage, and what, frankly, the culture of the Black community of the day, and maybe of the past even. So I guess some of what I would assess might be pushback would be, we don't have to squat on what the brother from Morehouse is doing, there. Can't we have that and also build at the same time? I'm offering that as just a thought that I think some folks may have, and I'm curious how you might respond to what I think is probably a pretty popular reasoned pushback folks might have to what they're hearing.
and I'll tell you the reason why I don't understand that pushback is because there was never anything that I said that demeaned what James has done and what he's building there. Everything that I said was congratulatory. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
Like I expressed how beautiful the collection is. I've expressed that it's beautiful that he's able to tell this story with the platform that he has. So to me, that pushback, honestly, I feel like is one, misguided, and two, I almost feel like it's an intentional. I don't want to go as far as say gaslighting, but it's bro, I didn't say nothing bad about James. I didn't say nothing bad about the collection. So there is nothing against that. What I'm saying is if you're willing to pay $128 for a t-shirt because it's got polo on it. Yeah. But then you are complaining that a Black-owned shirt that is helping Black farmers is $60. You can take Polo, Ralph Lauren off it. You can replace that brand with anything else. Gucci, Louis Vuitton, whatever you want to put on it. The statement remains the same. If you're valuing somebody else's stuff more than you value our stuff that's actually giving back to us, there's an internal problem that we got to look in the mirror and face. So again, big up to James. Big up to Pharrell, big up to all of them. But I will also say this, choose my words carefully, but I will also say this. As you said, two things can remain true, right? So we can be happy that James has ascended to being the creative director there. We can be happy that Pharrell is the head men's designer at Louis Vuitton, and also acknowledge that those brands are still utilizing
profiteering
them to profit from the culture. Those two things can exist.
That's exactly right.
You know, I've had this argument in a different context where I went to the University of Houston. That's where I played my college basketball. So my dream was to play in the NBA. Signed with the Sacramento Kings in 2009. Was blessed to achieve my dream of making it to the NBA. And I played my basketball at the University of Houston. And I've had people who are HBCU alum be like, well, you didn't go to a HBCU, you went to a PWI, right? And so what I always threw back to them is, but I see you celebrate going to HBCU and then you celebrate going to work for a white company. You're I went to Morehouse, but now I'm at Google. I went to Morehouse, but now I'm at Ralph Lauren. So you are proud of the accomplishment of achieving this position at a white company, but the flawed logic is that because I went to a publicly white school that somehow that diminishes my stance on these things for our people. That doesn't make sense to me. So the history of colonization has showed us that these entities will purposely elevate some of us so that they continue to have an avenue to sell to the rest of us. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just a fact of what has been happening across history. You know what I'm saying? So I'm proud of Pharrell. If that was his personal goal for him to achieve that position, of course, I'm happy for anybody to live their dream, to chase their dream. But as you said, two things can also remain true at the same time. Don't think that Louis Vuitton doesn't know that what the culture has meant to their brand. Don't think that Ralph Lauren doesn't know what the culture has meant to his brand and how this helps continue to sell to our people.
Yeah, your point is they're not giving you anything.
Yeah. Lanny, I just want to hop in here. One, I really appreciate your thoughts and your perspective here. And I want to apologize. I tried to tell my co-host that you did play in the NBA.
She gave us a rundown.
They didn't know.
She was wrong.
That's another lifetime ago. So don't even worry about that.
I get tired of always having to explain and tell them about sports things. But anyway, one thing that happens in our sartorial legacy when it comes to like couture and fashion, I would, use Ivy Park as an example. They, will give these like beautifully packaged outfits, and it would arrive on like these influencers' doorsteps, or like actresses and journalists and writers and whatnot. I'm curious, is Actively Black, do you need our addresses? Do you like personally deliver? How do we get our hands on this product.
Buy it.
Yeah.
We'll buy it,
Trump
but-
grifting
but-
is infiltrating native land.
He just
You know what?
told y'all, pay the $60
Grifting.
for the shirt.
Grifting.
Go to actively.
Grifting.
I would
Put your
greatly
money on it.
appreciate, you know what I'm saying, the patronage of the business and
Yes.
buying the product, but also I do understand the value of our cultural influencers being able to utilize their platform and their followings to help bring attention to, you know, a Black-owned brand. I mean, honestly, what you just said is something that I've also battled with. I've had several conversations with different Black celebrities and cultural influencers, and I would actually offer, hey, let me send this to you, you know, would love your opinion on it. And if you feel led to, I'm not saying send this to you in exchange for a post, but if you feel led to share this with your people, I would love that. And it's been heartbreaking because some of those responses have been, I need 100K for this post, but I see you posting wearing Nike and I know they're not paying you. And I see you posting Louis Vuitton and you tag them.
Who said that? Who said that? Air them out.
Yeah, name names.
Drop the names, Lanny.
I'm not going to get in that game. I'm going to tell you why I'm not going to get to that game. It's because...
Man, I want accountability in this moment.
It's so pervasive, though.
That's what I'm
pervasive.
But
it's
y'all,
everywhere.
like what he's saying, I saw that on State of the People. We are literally trying to give people relief. So I want Lanny to drop names. I'm ready to drop names. What we doing?
I mean, what I perceive him to say is
let's make sure we do another episode and we could do a drop names episode. We do that because one of the reasons is I got a long list. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a lot, and I say heartbreaking because there's some people that you know, sometimes they'll tell you, man, don't ever meet your heroes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They'll disappoint you because there are people that public facing. You think, oh, they for the culture. They're for us. They for the people. And then I talk to them and it's like, yeah, bro, I love what you're doing. But yeah, it's going to be 50K. It's going to be 100K for me to post this. And I'm like, bro, but I see you wearing other brands that's not paying you and you're posting and tagging them because you think that's giving you some sort of
like social validation.
Status.
You know?
You know what I'm saying? But what's more validating than who you are, who your people are? You know what I'm saying? Like that's the thing that I just it wrecks my brain. It breaks my heart because I can't understand it. I did a post a few days ago. Pharrell actually invited, when we outfitted Team Nigeria in the Paris Summer Olympics, Pharrell invited us to an event. It was held at the Louis Vuitton headquarters. And as part of getting an invite, you know, you could be outfitted in Louis Vuitton, right? And I respectfully rejected that. And I hit up House of Grey, Black owned. They make high-end fashion and apparel. And I was like, bro, I need you to make the outfit for me and my girl. We going to this Louis Vuitton event in Paris for the Olympics. And you could check the post right now. I tagged all the Black brands I was wearing. I had a Black owned watch. My everything I got on is Black owned. And I was like, if I'm gonna be on that platform and Getty gonna be there taking these pictures and I'm there with Pharrell and LeBron and the rest of them, I'm gonna make sure people see these Black owned brands that I'm wearing and I didn't charge nobody for that because what does that cost me to do? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And the crazy part about that is when I posted it originally, there were people that went to that Black owned watch brand and bought watches because they found out about it because I shared it. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, there's nothing more valuable than that. I was able to put some money in the pockets of another Black man that's an entrepreneur that's trying to build his business. And I don't need no payment for that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, so
of course.
I'm walking this. I'm not just talking this. I'm walking this. If you're not seeing me
like you're talking.
Black, I'm wearing another Black owned brand and I'm shouting them out. I just
What we can commit to, Lanny, I definitely will commit to buying something actively Black, but not just actively Black, but there are other, Black-owned brands, high-end, athleisure, all kind. A lot of people are like into like, oh, I'm rocking Louboutins and red bottoms. There's a wonderful Black woman shoe designer, Salone Monet, who has like comfortable, and they're comfortable shoes. So I'm thinking of all the Black-owned brands I know, and I can definitely commit to patroning your brand, but also other Black-owned brands. And you do have to come back because we're coming up on time, unfortunately. But we would love to have you back. When you come back, I would invite you to name names, but also just in this moment, initiate a challenge to the marketplace.
I got one.
To invest in our... Okay, go for it. We're entering our calls to action. So this is perfect. What's your call to action, Lanny?
So this year will be the 30-year anniversary of the Million Man March, right? And when I think about what it took for 1 million Black people to go to DC in that moment, you know, you had to buy a plane ticket, bus ticket, gas money, pay for food, get your hotel. You paid more than $60 in order to do that. And you had to get up and physically leave and go do something. I want to sell 1 million of these shirts that are grown from cotton from Black farmers because for multiple reasons, but one as a social experiment to show us what we can do with group economics when we turn our influence and all the things that we do for everybody else, when we turn that inward. I would, and so with that 1 million shirts sold, what that's going to do, it's going to generate over $20 million that we're going to actually give back to the Black community. So I'm not only am I telling you what, I'm going to tell you what we're committing to from Actively Black standpoint is 16 million of that is going to Black farmers. We're going to take $2 million to donate to HBCU schools. We're going to take another $2 million, and I'm going to create some business grants for Black business owners because people don't know Black founders receive less than 1% of all venture capital money. All venture capital money, Black founders receive less than 1%. So when we get on these platforms, like, why don't we have a Black on this? And why don't we have a Black on this? I'm actually trying to build something for our people. So that's my action item that I'm saying.
Thank you.
Go buy a cotton shirt that's made from cotton grown by Black farmers.
Awesome.
We are
and let's
on
show
it.
us what we can build for us.
Thank
Awesome.
you so much, Lanny.
That's
We
awesome.
so appreciate you. Thank you for joining Native Land. We are on it. We love that call to action, and please definitely come back once you meet that that goal. We would love to maybe co-brand NLP sweatshirts, and we'll all be wearing Actively Black NLP sweatshirts. But thank you so much again, brother, for joining us. We appreciate you. We love you. Sending you much
Thank
love,
y'all
and
for
hopefully
having me.
we invite our audience to meet the challenge. So that's our first call to action.
ActivelyBlack.com.
ActivelyBlack.com, everybody.
ActivelyBlack.com. Thank you,
ActivelyBlack.com.
All
Thank y'all.
Thank you, brother.
right. It's time to shift to calls to action. I really love, I mean, he set up a good call to action. Like,
It was awesome.
Yeah.
I can't match it. I actually want to double down on it because what is unfortunate is a lot of these Black entrepreneurs can't just sell a great product. They can't just create a great design and put it out there. They're also tasked with the huge challenge of changing minds, changing mindsets, shifting culture, basically taking on the vestiges of racism and white supremacy.
Yeah.
Before they can get to the, what they've been established for. I know in the opening of the show, we talked about, wanted to dive a little bit more into Gaza. Unfortunately, I fear that it won't be, this will be a crisis that we're going to have to continue to address over the coming weeks and months. I wish that we could turn this thing around. We may not be able to, but I know who can turn this thing around immediately and end the suffering of children and women and families who have not picked up a weapon and are not at war with anybody. They're in the survival fight of their lives due to malnutrition and the inability for aid organizations who are lined up at the gate, ready to deliver food, badly needed food to people. And the one person who can change this is Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel, who at one point allowed food to flow into Gaza and to meet the needs of the people there, even in wartime, who has basically shut the borders, created only 4 sites for distribution to serve a starving people. And it's heart-wrenching to watch. It's worse over that as a country, we're aiding and abetting in these senseless deaths.
We're funding,
aiding, abetting, and providing cover to this heartless, no doubt about it, genocide that is underway in this region of the world. And no one deserves it. And I'm appreciative of the European Union, France, Great Britain, who have all said that if this situation does not change, that they will recognize the Palestinian state as a free state and a member of the diplomatic community. It should have already been done, but in the absence of a two-state solution, they are forging ahead with a two-state solution through diplomatic acknowledgement of Palestine as a free state. And I wish that we had the courage here in America to get back to some moral leadership, if we can muster it, and help to end this these senseless deaths and starvation happening, aided and abetted by the American taxpaying dollar.
I'm going to yield my call to action just to echo your points, Andrew, because I think it's important for people to understand where we are right now. As of this week, 61,709 people have been killed. That includes 17,492 children. Over 110,000 people have been injured. Nearly 15,000 are missing or presumed dead. The forced displacement, since the Israeli military has issued more than 65 evacuation orders since October 7th, when the Hamas attack happened, left about 80% of the Gaza Strip under evacuation orders. I'm going to disagree with you a bit. You gave, kind of like a good on the EU. And I have to say, I think we are so beyond symbolic gestures at this point. The UK, France, I'll start with the UK. The UK is the world's 6th largest economy. They, in this protest to Israel, have reduced the funding that they're sending to Israel. America continues to fund this genocide, this ethnic cleansing. I think if you really give a shit about starving children, then you cut the funding off. That is the only way to stop it. We are funding children dying. I'm not impressed because you reduced your funding. I'm not impressed. And I think Lanny just made a good point about let's not settle for crumbs. And pardon the pun using this while we're talking about literally the world standing by, watching us fund the killing, the murder of all these people. Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel needs to be an isolated state at this point. They are an amoral, fanatical, far-right, white supremacist regime being funded by the United States. And this is not specific to Trump. This is over multiple administrations. They've controlled the airspace since 2007. And it's just a disgusting thing to see. We'll dive deep into this as we continue to watch this. But I know this is something that you wanted to talk about, Andrew. And so I'm yielding my call to action just so we can get that little bit of information out there. I know this is heavy and people, we have a lot of heaviness happening in our own lives and certainly right here in our own country. But this is dire. This is dire. While we have the privilege in this country to turn and look away and check out because we don't want to feel uncomfortable, we cannot. Closing our eyes, pretending it's not happening doesn't mean it's not happening. And we always say never forget. And again and again and again, we forget and we stand by and let the atrocities of the world happen. My call to action is to not do that anymore.
That's right.
Angela, I know that you have a call to action.
It's actually going to be a little different, Tiff. Given the time we are now and how serious it was to be able to mention and lift up Gaza. I just want to shout out, we have an amazing sister who has been a part of our social media team, Angela White. Again, I have on my National Bar Association celebrating 100 years shirt. And in this centennial, Angela will be leaving us to go to law school. She'll begin at Southern University Law School. And I'm just shouting her out and encouraging her along the way. And for every other young Black attorney, I know right now you're entering into a phase where you're like, okay, we're interpreting the law in class. And what does this mean in a lawless land? I know that we will be better because of young, sharp legal minds like Angela's and so many others. So I am encouraged by you all. And my call to action to every one of you is to stay encouraged and be with courage and know you're not alone in this moment.
Hear, hear.
Who is going to come up with the dope titles of the show now? Who is? Where does that responsibility
Angela, you gonna have
fall?
to be on call, honey. She had one for today. I'm gonna tell y'all what her recommendations were today because people don't normally get to hear this part.
Tell us.
I'm gonna give you the two options that Ange put in the thread. The first one was mind the business that pays us, or in parentheses, or doesn't. And then the second was FUBU ain't free, the cost of Black ownership.
I love it. I love both.
I love them both.
What will we
too.
choose?
I don't
Tune
know.
in and see. We
Well,
don't
by
know.
the time they tune in to see, they'll have a title.
They will
on it,
know.
but I
They
do
They
love
will
that.
know.
for you, but if you disagree, you can say so.
You guys can send
I
in
love
titles, but I hope
that.
Ange every
Thanks,
now and then it'll
Ange.
be like, y'all go back and retitle this ish. I got something hotter for y'all. Drop that track.
This is excellent. That's excellent.
Well,
Congratulations, Ange.
we are at that time, guys. I just want to, again, I feel like today's conversation was, philosophical in a lot of ways. And so if you enjoyed what you hear, I hope that you will listen with your friends, family, colleagues, and start having these conversations among yourselves. If you happen to have a really interesting conversation, please drop us a video. Tell us about it. If you have a comment, if you disagree with something that any of us said, we want to hear from you. And of course, we invite you to please subscribe, like, share, especially if you heard something that struck you, send this and drop the link to this in the group chat. Say, girl, listen to this, or like Native Land was on one this week. Like, drop it, share it. That's what we ask you to do. And leave us a review. Y'all know I read the comments. So if you have a comment to make, my eyes will likely see it. Please do tune in to other shows on Reason Choice Network. And you all know that we had Noah on our show. So 13-year-old Noah, who you all met a couple of weeks ago, the first episode of his show, Now You Know, just dropped. So you all can check that out. He interviews Mia from Real Housewives with her boyfriend Incognito. I'll reserve my comments there. I don't know anything about him, so I don't know.
You gotta listen
I just
to
saw
the
Real
show.
Housewives. Okay,
Watch
that's
the show,
exactly.
listen.
This is why you have to tune in. Anyway, that is available now, and our episode that we did with Noah is going to air next week. So please be sure to check that out as well. And follow us on all our socials. And please subscribe to our text or email list, nativelandpod.com.
Wait a minute. This is actually another great call to action. Bonus call
What?
to action. We had we already had a bonus week because we had Lanny's. But speaking of FUBU, y'all, if you like this content and you feel really tired of Tiff nagging you about us being in person, we need some more money. So the way you can do that is by watching the show, sharing
Subscribe, share, leave a comment.
We got some people on the team now. They got
So
some
it
ideas.
wasn't a bonus call to action, just a echo call
Reiteration.
to action. Yes.
I'm sorry. It was an amen corner
That's
call to
okay.
action.
It was an amen corner call to action, because
Triple
if
that,
they ain't hear it
triple
from
that.
me, y'all heard it from two other people. Tune in. We are your hosts, Angela Rye, Tiffany Cross, and Andrew Gillum. I don't know why we bother still saying this, but just FYI, there are 460 days until
About to start a fight at the
midterm
end of the show.
I was about to
elections.
say, don't do it. Don't do it, friend.
We say it because we have to fight with everything we have.
Everything's
Now
on the
that's a word.
Yes.
Everything's
And
on
we
the
still
table.
haven't even
Yeah.
talked about redistricting yet on this show.
That's
we
coming
gotta
up.
do that. Yeah, we're gonna hit that.
Please tune in. Please tune in. We'll keep. We have like 18 mini pods that we've
I
been
know,
promising,
right?
We've been
The list
and we
keeps
have
growing.
so many topics. And if there's a topic we're not talking about, drop us a video and say so, because this is your table to sit at too. So welcome home, y'all.
Welcome home, yeah.
Thank you for joining the natives. Intentional with the info on all of the latest. Rod Gillum and Cross connected to the statements that you leave on our socials. Thank you sincerely for the patience. Reason for your choice is clear. We're so grateful. Took the oath to execute roles. Yeah, faithful. Preserve, defend, and protect the truth, even if painful. Welcome home to all of the natives. We thank you.
Native Land Pod is a production of iHeartRadio in partnership with Reason Choice Media. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.